I remember the first time I saw her, how the world seemed to pause as if fate itself was introducing me to the one person I was meant to love. From that moment on, everything in my life felt brighter, fuller, as though every day carried a new reason to smile. Our marriage was not just a ceremony of vows, it was the creation of a life that felt unshakable. She was not only my wife but my confidant, my companion in every dream, and my safe place whenever life felt overwhelming. To me, we were perfect. The mornings were my favorite, her soft laughter filling the kitchen, the way she brewed my coffee just the way I liked it, and how her eyes sparkled whenever I complimented her. Evenings were peaceful, walks in the neighborhood, sharing little things about our day, her hand resting comfortably in mine. I often told myself I was blessed beyond measure. Friends would say we were the kind of couple that gave others hope. I believed it. I built my identity around the idea that she and I were a team, unshakable and eternal. I kept every promise I made to her. I worked hard not only for myself but for us, always thinking of the future we had planned together. There were times when she looked at me with such warmth that I wondered what I had done in this life to deserve her. On our anniversary, I wrote her letters filled with the deepest truths of my heart, and she would smile, fold them carefully, and keep them close to her chest. I thought she treasured me the way I treasured her. But love, I would learn, has layers I never noticed. There were little things I dismissed, small cracks in what I thought was flawless. Sometimes, she stayed on her phone longer than usual, quickly setting it aside when I walked into the room. I told myself I was overthinking. At night, she seemed distracted, lost in thought, but when I asked, she'd brush it off with a tired smile. She started coming home later, saying work was demanding more of her. I believed her without question, because why wouldn't I? Trust wasn't something I ever doubted. Her absences began to stretch, but I consoled myself with logic. She was a hard-working woman, dedicated and ambitious, and I admired that about her. If she was quieter than usual, I blamed the stress of life. If she seemed distant, I told myself she needed space, and I respected it. Never once did it occur to me that her heart might be drifting away from mine. Still, there were moments that unsettled me. The times she seemed to avoid my gaze, or the way her smile sometimes felt rehearsed, as though she was hiding a truth I couldn't quite touch. Yet my love for her was blinding, and I refused to see beyond what I wanted to believe. I thought we were unbreakable, bound by love and trust that nothing could destroy. I was certain of it. But certainty, I would come to realize, can be the cruelest illusion. For in my devotion, I overlooked the silent storm already gathering around us, one that would soon change everything. Word count, 557. Do you want me to continue with section 2, same style, 550 plus words, now? Her absence began to weigh on me more heavily than I admitted to myself at first. It started with small, almost unnoticeable changes. She no longer lingered at the dinner table to talk about her day. Instead, she excused herself early, saying she was exhausted. Our conversations grew shorter, filled with polite replies rather than the laughter and warmth that used to be our rhythm. When I reached for her hand, she pulled away gently, as though my touch was suddenly unfamiliar. These were not just fleeting moments. They were patterns, repeating and deepening until I could no longer ignore them. Her phone became a constant presence in her hand, her eyes locked to the screen with an intensity she never showed me anymore. She guarded it fiercely, tilting it away whenever I walked by, silencing notifications before I could catch a glimpse. The woman who once shared every detail of her day now seemed to live a parallel life I was not a part of. My mind wrestled with doubt. Was I imagining things? Was I being unfair, suspicious for no reason? But the unease grew each day, gnawing at the corners of my trust. I tried to reason with myself. Maybe it was stress, maybe work was demanding more of her time and energy. I wanted to believe that explanation because the alternative was too painful to consider. Still, when she started returning home late with vague excuses, something inside me twisted with fear. I noticed how carefully she avoided my questions, how her voice would falter when she said she was just with colleagues. Her eyes told me stories her words never could, stories of distance, of secrets. At night, lying beside her, I stared at the ceiling while she turned her back to me. Sleep became impossible. I could feel her body there, but her presence was elsewhere, unreachable. My heart pounded with dread, and my mind replayed every interaction, searching for meaning in her silences. Was I no longer enough? Had I failed her in some invisible way? The man who once felt secure in love now found himself drowning in uncertainty. Friends noticed too. They asked why she seemed distracted, why she no longer laughed as freely in my company. Their casual comments were daggers I carried quietly, because admitting them out loud would mean admitting that something was broken. I put on a brave face, pretending everything was fine, but inside I was unraveling. The confirmation came unexpectedly, as if the universe had decided I had ignored the signs long enough. One evening, she left her bag on the table while stepping into the shower. My hands trembled as I told myself not to invade her privacy, but curiosity was no longer curiosity, it was survival. Inside, I found a receipt tucked between her things, for a dinner at a place she had never mentioned. The date matched a night she claimed to be working late. My chest tightened as the truth began to bleed through. The final blow came when I followed the gnawing instinct I had tried to silence for weeks. Driving home from work earlier than usual, I saw her across the street, sitting in a cafe with a man whose gaze lingered on her with a familiarity I recognized all too well. Her smile, the same one that once belonged only to me, was his now. I froze, unable to move, unable to breathe. The world around me blurred, and all I could hear was the sound of my own heart breaking inside my chest. Everything I had built, every promise I had trusted, collapsed in that single moment of brutal clarity. That night, I returned home knowing a truth I wished I had never discovered. The woman I had given my life to was already giving hers to someone else. Word count, 559. Do you want me to go ahead and draft section 3, the confrontation, in the same style and depth? I waited until the silence of the house pressed down on me like a weight. My heart raced, but my mind felt numb, as if protecting me from the storm I knew was coming. She walked in, carrying herself with the same casualness as if nothing had changed, as if she hadn't just shattered the foundation of everything we had built together. I looked at her and felt two lives colliding inside me, the life I thought I had, and the truth I had seen with my own eyes. I asked her where she had been. The question sounded simple, but my voice carried a tremor I couldn't disguise. She hesitated, gave me the same tired excuse of working late. I stared at her, searching her face, waiting for even a flicker of honesty. When I told her what I had seen, when I mentioned the cafe and the man, I watched her freeze. Her lips parted, then closed, her eyes darting away from mine. For a moment she tried to deny it, but the silence between us was heavier than her words. Finally, the truth cracked through her mask. She admitted it. The word yes fell from her mouth like a blade, cutting deeper than any scream could. She said she hadn't meant for it to happen, that it was a mistake, that she was lonely. Lonely, despite the fact that I had given her everything I had, every ounce of love and devotion within me. Hearing those words was like being erased, like everything I had done had been invisible to her. My chest burned, and I struggled to breathe. 1,000 emotions rushed through me: anger, disbelief, grief, humiliation. I wanted to shout, to rage at her for destroying us, but when I opened my mouth, all that came out was a broken whisper. I asked her how long. Her eyes filled with tears, but even they felt foreign to me now. She confessed it had been going on for months. Months of lies, months of betrayal under my very roof. I couldn't stop the flood of images. Her laughter, once my greatest comfort, now felt tainted. The hand I used to hold with pride had been held by someone else. Every memory we had shared became twisted, every tender moment poisoned by doubt. I looked at her, but all I could see was a stranger wearing the face of the woman I had loved. She tried to justify it, saying she didn't plan it, that it just happened. The words made my stomach turn. Affairs don't just happen, choices are made, over and over again. With every message, every meeting, every lie she told me, she chose him over me. And yet, she stood there crying, as if her guilt could somehow erase the knife she had plunged into my chest. I wanted to hate her, but all I felt was emptiness. My love for her had been so deep that even now, in the middle of betrayal, I still longed for the woman she used to be. But she was gone. Whatever bond we once had been broken, replaced by something I no longer recognized. The silence between us stretched, broken only by her sobs and my own ragged breathing. In that silence, I realized the depth of my loss. I hadn't just lost my wife, I had lost my faith in love, in trust, in the very story I had built my life upon. In that moment, as I looked at her across the room, I knew the truth with painful clarity. The woman I married no longer existed. She had vanished the moment she gave herself to someone else. All that remained before me was the echo of her betrayal, and the broken man it had left behind. Word count, 562. Shall I move on and write section 4, the healing and moving on, in the same direct and emotional style? The days after the confession were a blur of silence and raw pain. I walked through the house like a ghost, every corner whispering memories I no longer wanted to face. The bed felt colder, the walls heavier, and my chest carried a weight I could not set down. At night, sleep refused to come. I lay awake, replaying every detail of our life, wondering where I had failed, what I had missed, why my love had not been enough to keep her by my side. The betrayal stripped me of more than trust, it stole my sense of self. I looked in the mirror and did not recognize the man staring back. He looked older, worn, hollowed out by heartbreak. I asked myself questions that had no answers. Was I unworthy? Had I given too little? Or had I simply loved someone who never truly valued what we had? The torment was relentless, but I carried it quietly, unwilling to let the world see how broken I had become. Yet, even in that darkness, a small part of me longed for survival. I realized that if I allowed her betrayal to define me, I would lose more than just a marriage, I would lose myself completely. I began writing down my thoughts, pouring my pain onto pages that never judged me. The words became a release, a way to bleed without anyone seeing the wounds. Friends reached out, some offering comfort, others urging me to let go and rebuild. Their voices reminded me that I wasn't as alone as I felt. Healing was not immediate, it came in fragments, small victories scattered through days of sorrow. One morning, I woke up and realized I had gone a full night without crying. Another day, I caught myself laughing at a memory with an old friend. These moments were fragile, but they were proof that life was still moving forward, even if I felt stuck in the past. Forgiveness became a word I wrestled with. Not forgiveness for her, not in the sense of excusing what she had done, but forgiveness for myself, for being blind, for holding on too tightly, for punishing myself for choices that were never mine. Slowly, I understood that forgiveness was less about her and more about freeing myself from the chains of bitterness. Carrying anger would only keep me tied to the pain she caused. Releasing it meant reclaiming my strength. I still don't know if she regrets it in the way I once hoped she would. Perhaps she does, perhaps she doesn't. But I no longer wait for that answer. My healing is not tied to her remorse, it belongs to me alone. I learned to accept that sometimes love is not enough to stop someone from betraying you. Sometimes, no matter how much you give, it will never be received with the same devotion. Standing on the other side of heartbreak, I discovered something unexpected. Betrayal may have broken me, but it also forced me to rebuild. It taught me that love for another is powerful, but love for oneself is essential. I no longer see myself as a victim of her choices, but as a survivor of them. Her affair changed everything. It destroyed the marriage I thought was unshakable, but it also uncovered a strength I never knew I had. The pain remains a scar, but scars are reminders of battles endured, not prisons to live in. I carry mine with quiet pride now. She may have taken my trust, but she did not take my ability to heal. And though I will never forget the betrayal, I no longer live in its shadow. I walk forward with a clearer heart, knowing that even after being broken, it is possible to rise, to breathe, and to begin again. Word count, 559. White heavy checkmark. All 4 sections are complete with 550+ words each. Would you like me to now combine them into a single continuous script, 2,000 words total, so you can use it directly for narration in your faceless video?